Hi, everyone. Welcome to Dr. Sue and You. So happy you could join us again today. I have a great guest lined up here that is going to talk to you about never giving up on your dreams. That is so important. Also, how you can repair your own life and lead yourself towards a place where you can accomplish the goals in your life that you desire. So joining me today is Dr. Donna Hunter. She is an international keynote speaker and a #1 international best-selling author and intuitive coach. She also co-produced and starred in an award-winning documentary called Color My Mind Diagnosis. And I'd like to welcome her here to the show today. Hi, Dr. Donna.
Sue, thank you for having me today.
It's my pleasure. I'm grateful that you could join us today. You know, I've talked to you before about what you do and how you do it, and I think it's unbelievable, and that's why I'm so happy to have you back on the show today. Let's talk a little bit about your background. You are a #1 best-selling author from Women Who Rise. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell me a little bit about that book and about your story, about how you have risen.
Well, first, thank you again, Dr. Sue. I love this show. I love the fact that you talk about hard things and you give us tools on how we can accomplish the great thing that we want to do, even something as simple as healing the broken heart. So my background, again, was my doctoral work is in education and leadership. And I did a specialization in working with parents and folks who have, of course, I'll call them breaches or brokenness, maybe with their children or in their family. So that's kind of my background in research. And then from there, being a principal in K-12 education and special education, having a specialization there, I've dealt with a lot of families and people that have had disappointments and brokenness. So that's kind of my background. And then getting involved in the book. So the first book was Women Who Rise, and that, of course, went internationally #1 in May of last year. And then more recently, Women Who Empower. That one just went #1 as well in 16 categories in the US and 31 in the internationally. We talk again about how we empower ourselves from the rising that we've had to experience.
And so 2 great award-winning books that offer a lot of great information on how to rise and empower yourself out of trauma. One thing that you talk about that I am very interested in is restoring and repairing the broken heart. I think it doesn't matter what you're going through in life, if it's a divorce, a death, anything that you're grieving, oftentimes we do have broken hearts. Dr. Donna, how can we begin that process of restoring and repairing our broken heart when we feel that we can't go on or we can't go forward?
Oh, I think that's the best place to start, is to recognize that you are in a place where you can't go forward or you feel as if you cannot. So that's, I think, the first portion that we talk about in Women Who Rise, and talking about the repairing process, the repairing of the breach, repairing of our hearts. We talk about the first part is just the recognition and the release, giving yourself permission to recognize and release that you're in a place that you did not expect to be, you're disappointed, you're hurt, and you give yourself permission to just get that portion where you just do a release. From my portion of having to go through this portion, having to go through some of the breaking, or I should say the making, and the dreams realized in a different way. My daughter, again, I told you, whether, as you already said, whether you are in a broken relationship, have had a broken relationship, or have had a child, or anything that you have had a brokenness with regards to, mine was my daughter. I had a dream. I had a dreams. And by the way, dreams do not have an expiration date. They may look different, but they don't expire because they are sometimes just dormant in your soul. They're dormant. They are your disappointments. that just kind of lay dormant at times. Sometimes we don't even know that we still have a dream for this wonderful relationship or this special child or this child or this lifestyle that we always wanted. Sometimes we don't know about it. So the first part for me is the release and the recognition, just recognizing that I have this issue. I'm not in a place where I want to be. And then from there, I go to the entreat portion. So I use an acronym in Women Who Rise, and it's just repair. And so the recognition, the release is that I'm in a place I don't want to be. I'm disappointed, I'm hurt, and I've got to recognize that.
And that it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be hurt. And to sit with that and stay with it until it passes. Or at the same time, go out and take other steps in terms to move yourself out of the pain. So what I'm asking you is, do you sit with the pain until it releases, or do you take active steps to help yourself release the pain?
Okay, so I say both.
Okay.
Because there's sometimes when you can't do it, and I don't want to force anyone to say, go, muscle through it, get over it. That does not always work, and it doesn't work for everyone. So there's a portion where you literally feel that that's a portion, that's part of the grieving process. You've got to sit with it. You've got to have it for a moment. And then there's a portion of you when you start to kind of get I say the sun starts to rise a little bit and you start to think about what am I going to do or how do I feel? That's the portion where you start to entreat. That's where you start using those skills and those coping skills that you've known, or you start to develop them. That part where you reach out and you pray or you meditate. You start to do something that will entreat that which is greater than you to come in and do the work that you can't do. Because I really do believe that there's a portion of us, yes, we want to release it. We have our cognitive ability to release something that's hurt is different from our spiritual or emotional ability to release something that is devastating and hurtful. So we entreat, we bring in what is not already there. And I say, I call out to God, or I call out to my higher power, and I ask for the portion, the strength that I do not have. From there, I talk about petitioning. I talk about the petition. I talk about actually writing it out. Write it out. Don't leave it there. Write it out. Talk about it. Put it down in a journal. I mean, literally pour it out. I am mad. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. I thought I'd always have this. This person did that. Whatever it is, I talk about the petition. Just as you would sign a petition, I talk about the journaling portion of it to get it out. Get it all the way out. Now, some people go to the next step and they burn it, or they bury it, or they tear it up. But letting it go from here to here to the hand, you know that old saying, thoughts disentangle themselves through the lips and the fingertips? I believe that that's therapeutic for us to do that portion where we petition, we write it out, what we want, how we were hurt, and what we want to see in the future.
Wow, you just gave so many amazing tips right there. I need to untackle some of these with you, okay? First of all, let's go right into the writing, because I'm a big fan of that as well. You can walk around all day long and be up in your head having these thoughts just eating at you all day long. And they'll stay there, won't they, if you don't do anything to release them?
Absolutely.
But
you've got to release it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Putting it from your head onto the paper is a release, right? They say that when you put a hand to the paper and writing it out, it acknowledges it in a different way. Talk about that for a minute, how that is so important to releasing. I don't think people understand that, and it's important.
No, you are right. You're right. I think we take it for granted that we can figure it out in our heads. I think we take it for granted that, I'll get through it. I've talked about it. I prayed about it, and I can just get through it. But for whatever reason, the way in which we are made, there's some things that do not come all the way through until we articulate them. That's why they say speak it and talk about it and say a prayer. but the writing is something that goes, and there's a something about the way in which we are made as human beings, that the cognitive ability and the ability to articulate and then the ability to write, it's almost like the 1 2 3.
Mm-hmm.
They say that, what you think is, you'll remember some things, what you say, but what you write and do, you will usually move forward faster than anything else, because writing is therapeutic, and it also unlocks the portions that you don't even know you're thinking, or you don't remember. When I'm writing,
Mm-hmm.
I can write down thoughts that I was like, I don't even know I was feeling that way. The one word that I kept hearing, or should keep saying, seeing as I wrote, was disappointed.
Mm.
How can you be disappointed? I understand, but if I was really disappointed in God, I was so
Mm.
disappointed in him, and I thought that's kind of arrogant, but I wrote it.
Right.
I wrote it down, and it literally kind of unlocked for me how I really felt about having a child with this severe need and not having my dreams realized, of wanting to go to a wedding and wanting to be
Mm.
dress her up for prom. I was literally going to live through this child. All of my childhood dreams were to do all of those things with a daughter, because I didn't do them with my own mom. So I had a lot of dreams that I didn't even want to recognize, and I was gravely disappointed and didn't really even see it until I started to write it. And that was the word that kind of really stuck out for me, that I was disappointed because I felt it was arrogant.
Yes, and the word disappointment is powerful, because there's so many things that we can be disappointed with. We can be disappointed with ourselves for how we treated others. We could be disappointed in others for not treating us well. We can be disappointed in not receiving what we expected that we would in life, which is in your case. And to go to that pain and really look at it, it brings up a lot of feelings that we don't want to look at all the time.
Absolutely.
But
You said it.
you're
Said it.
right. You're right, Dr. Donna. When you do sit down and write, more comes out that you didn't even know was up there in your head. It's interesting. A flow begins to happen. And
Yes.
that's when the release starts to come.
You got it. Because it's a one thing to do something mentally. It's another thing, like I said, to articulate it through the entry. And then the petition portion of it is that portion where it starts to break. You start to see the turn. You start to feel the difference in your body, mind, and spirit. And then we go to the actionable steps. For me, I always tell folks, if you need a counselor, get a counselor. If you need a coach, get a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to walk those walks or do these things alone. If you need an advocate, if you need an attorney, get something. But make sure you do a concerted action that you do, that you can say, on this date, I did that. And you can write that down as well. But there has to be an action associated so that you remember.
Mm-hmm.
You have your journal there. But what was the action that you did that really brought about the actualization of that release?
Right. And what is the one thing, before we go to break, that happens when you do have that release? What is the one thing that begins to happen in your body and your mind?
The first thing is the healing process starts, and you don't even know it.
Yep.
You don't even know it, actually realize it. But the healing process can start. The brokenness can start to dissipate.
And you can begin to heal. On that note, we're going to go to our first break. We are talking with Dr. Donna Marie Hunter. She is just truly an inspiration to healing people and their feelings and their trauma and becoming renewed. We'll be back in just a moment.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Sidewalks built for fun. Legendary rock and roll clubs.
This is how we do it. Hip hip hop.
Casinos by the ocean.
Hip hip hop.
Now that's New Jersey. 130 miles of...
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Sue, and you are watching the Dr. Sue and You show. And this is where we help you move through your conflicts in your life in a compassionate way. And I have a great expert on with me today that is helping us do that and teach you her tools and tips on how to show compassion to yourself and move forward in your life. We are talking with Dr. Donna Marie Hunter. She is an inspirational keynote speaker, the author of 2 award-winning books, Women Who Rise and Women Who Empower. And she is also the award-winning producer of the short film Colored My Mind Diagnosis. I want to welcome her back to the show. My darling, you have really done a lot of good in this world, and you should be commended for that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you, Dr. Sue.
Oh, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about this documentary that you had produced and filmed. It has been on PBS, CNN's Raising America. Tell me more about it, how it came about, and how it's helping children.
So the idea colored my mind, and as you saw in the trailer that I sent you, it's colored my mind is talking about, it's really touching the lives of families that are affected by developmental and intellectual disabilities, particularly autism in this instance, because all of the moms, Tisha Campbell Martin, LaDonna Hughley, Tammy McCrary, and Shannon Nash, and myself, we all have children on the autism spectrum. And our students, our children weren't getting what they needed in the community. And it was very much shown in the data that these children, African-American and Latino children, were not getting the same level of not only care, but the same timely diagnosis so that they could get the interventions needed at a very early stage. So when you put someone like Tisha Campbell, who is a world-renowned actress, and D.L. Hughley's wife, LaDonna, you know, they are people that kind of bring in, the people start to look at your film when they see names that they can I'll say identify with. You've got Blair Underwood, you've got Nicole Ari Parker, all of these names in Hollywood that came together for this film to show that what it looks like for a mom. And I would say, I'll just talk about myself, to go through the process of understanding diagnosis and the devastation. I told you that disappointment that you get from recognizing, understanding, and having to accept that you have a child on this spectrum, and life is not going to be as you so-called dreamed or as you so-called planned. So the whole film really just goes through, not the whole, but it goes through each one of us understanding what the diagnosis was and how the autism spectrum and how disabilities color your mind.
And can people watch that now? Is
They
there
can.
Is there a place where...
it's still on PBS. If you go to PBS, you can download the actual full documentary. And also, if you go to my website, you can get a link for the trailer if you would like to view it.
Does the film teach resiliency? Does it teach how to love somebody that doesn't meet your expectations? Is that what a lot of the film is about?
It's more on how we as parents are grappling with the diagnosis, and as you said, and also letting you know that there is hope.
Right.
Because we come from a place of disappointment and we're just, you're devastated, you're feeling hopeless.
Yep.
But there's hope at the end. There is hope. And that's the whole premise of it, is that, yes, you've been disappointed. You've had this this devastating diagnosis. You didn't get what you wanted, or you've had this breaking of your heart, but there's definitely hope. So I'll tell you a little bit of the chapter that I wrote. I talk about that disappointment, and then how one of my friends, or which LaDonna's daughter, came in and she asked me to be a part of her wedding. Well, I'd always wanted to do the mother-daughter thing with regards to weddings, or with regard to a wedding. So my dream was realized. It just wasn't realized with the way in which I thought. But I will say this, it was realized in such a way that I tell you, I wrote that chapter just because of how much it touched my heart and my spirit. So it wasn't what I thought, but it
Right?
was I'm telling you, it was a whole lot better. And I'll say life changing as far as how the dream was realized. So there is always hope.
Always hope. And the way that you think something's going to come or come back is usually never the way that it does,
Yeah.
or in the timing that you want it. Most things, I believe, come from doing work on yourself, because that opens up the door to other things healing in your life.
Absolutely. That's the repair. You've got to do the
Yep.
repair process. You've got to get in there, write, you've got to pray, you've got to journal, you've got to do actionable steps, and then you've got to do that last R, which is the restoration process.
Yep.
The restoring. The restore means that not only do you recognize that you've been through something, but you go out and you do something else. Kind of like what you're doing with your program. It's not enough for Dr. Sue to be healed. It's not enough. If that were it, then that's not empowering. Empowering is if that you go out and you do something that invites others to experience healing as well. So that completes the repair process. If you just stay in your home and do your thing, that's one thing. But you really want to heal, you really want to become empowered, you really want to get to the next place where God has for you, then you've got to go out and you've got to reach out to others.
Yes, I couldn't have said that better myself. I think just like you, what you're doing today by coming on the show, you are giving an audience more information to heal themselves, and you practice all of this on yourself, and that's why you know that it works. And I think that's the best way to teach, is from our own inner experiences, because that's what other people can relate to. And the restoration piece really does begin where you are what you said, in terms of going through all these steps to get to that place, and really going through the restoring and the repairing and all of that until you can reconnect. And a lot of times people think that they're on their way and they stop, but they're really not. And nothing really holds in life fully unless you go through your process fully and heal. That's what I believe.
I love it. And it's cyclical. So just because you've gone through one thing, it may look different the next
Right.
time. Give yourself grace and space to see it come back another way.
That's my
Grace means
favorite
give
line
yourself-
by you, Dr. Donna, and you know that, and I was waiting for you to get that in today.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, grace and space.
Yeah.
You
that's the
taught
whole
me
premise.
that when you were on my radio show a month ago.
Yeah.
And
because
I
we're
have
so
not
adamant.
stopped thinking about it. So tell me what we're talking about when we're saying grace and space.
Space. Yeah. The grace is one for yourself, because we're very good at giving grace to others. Unmerited favor, giving unmerited favor to others. I just love you. I just love you, Dr. Sue. We give it to others. I'm saying, okay, now give yourself that same grace, and then give room or space, because the restoration process takes a different time and space for everyone. So giving room and space for, I would say, if you want another relationship to come back, give it space, but give yourself grace to be okay. I was a little disappointed last time. And also give yourself space to allow for time for healing and time for restoration and renewal.
It's the greatest thing ever, the grace and the space. And I look at it the same way you do. The grace is giving grace to yourself in the same way you would to somebody else that is healing. Give yourself that time to grieve. Give yourself the empathy. Let go of the self-blame. Explore it. And if it takes a year, it takes a year. And then, right?
I'd be your cheerleader, Dr. Sue, because you said it. It's so easy for us to go to a hospital room and have empathy for the person laying there, but not have empathy for us when we're laying in our bed, and not have compassion for ourselves. That doesn't mean we stay there, but it just means we give ourselves grace to be right where we are in the day and time that we're in.
And then the space part, right, is giving yourself space, maybe giving that other person space and time to heal as well. Just because you're in a better place doesn't mean that other person is too at the same time.
There's no competition. Okay, I got to throw my other one in.
Go ahead.
You don't compare and you don't compete. Don't compare and don't compete.
Ooh.
Walk your own walk, do your own thing, and you will see that grace and space will work for you just like it works for someone else. If you don't worry about someone going through it faster than you, or someone saying to you, get over it faster, give yourself the position that you don't have to compare and you don't have to compete. Just do you. Just be your beautiful self, and go through it and take every step as it comes.
This is amazing. Now what you've done is introduce me to another thing that is just blowing my mind right now. Don't compare and compete. And you know what, Dr. Donna? People do that all the time. Well, what do you mean he's not responding to me, or she's not responding to me? I'm ready. I'm healed. Forget them. But what you're saying is you're comparing yourself to somebody that may not even be ready. So just do your work on yourself for as long as it takes, and be hopeful that something can be restored because of that.
Love that. Love that. That's it. You hearing me loud and clear. You don't have time. If you really are doing your own work, you're not looking over your shoulder. You're not trying to see what so-and-so is doing. You're involved in the process of healing for yourself. So you're not comparing or competing.
What happens to us, Dr. Donna, when we are comparing and competing?
Literally, it's like looking in the rearview mirror. It's like always having, now it's one thing to glance back because you want to see where you've had. You do take a glance back,
right?
But you put your gaze forward. When you're continually looking and doing all of these you're taking all of your energy and placing it in someone else's pockets. Put your energy towards you. That's the grace. Give yourself grace. You need this time right now to heal. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They will come around, and if they don't, maybe that's not the relationship for you, or maybe that's not for you. But giving yourself the opportunity to just be in your own space, doing your own race and not comparing, it will allow you to place all of your energy towards what's best for you.
Right, and that is what a lot of people don't focus on enough, is themselves and their own feelings about working through their own pain and giving themselves that kind of compassion. Because if you can't do that for yourself, everybody, you're going to go back into a relationship where you're going to make the same repetitive mistakes, and it just won't work. Even if the person comes back, you're going to find yourself in the same pattern. So do everything Dr. Donna said. Grace, space, no compares, and no competition.
Right.
Just be good to yourself.
Now, the last one is, what you do not repair, you will repeat. That's what you just said.
Yes.
That's the last one. When you don't repair, you will repeat it.
Absolutely. And that's what I said. And those patterns will keep coming out again and again on people until you're in a better place where you're not reacting in the same way when you are being triggered. Well, Dr. Donna, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today and giving our viewers so many great tips and techniques on how to heal yourself. It's a process, and as you know, I say, a path and a new journey where you can emerge with compassion.
I love that. I love that.
So, Dr. Donna, how can everybody get in touch with you?
I would say the best way is my website, drdonnahunter.com, and you can reach out for anything. Just make it easy on them. drdonnahunter.com, and you can find everything there. And thank you so very much, Dr. Sue. You're so wonderful. I'm grateful for the work you're doing.
Thank you so much, and you are just an amazing light in this world who is helping people reach their dreams and never give up on them. And that's what we're about here as well, that you can emerge and heal with anything in your life, and that you can become the solution to any conflict within your life. on your own. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Donna, we'll definitely have you back on my shows because you really, really give the greatest information. All right, everybody, that is another episode of Dr. Sue and You. I'm so happy that you could join me again today. We talked about something that is really, really important, restoring and repairing your broken heart. Remember, though, it begins with you. We'll be back next Thursday with another episode. Until then, become the solution to all conflicts within your life. Bye-bye.